Give it up for Josh Johnson.
This weekend, wow, it is for everybody. I imagine this weekend was weird. It was weird because for like half a day, we did think half a day. That's so long. Half of a day. It's a very long time to think the president. And then, you know, we found out, oh, that wasn't the case. And they posted, you know. The news reports came out. They were like, the president's been found golfing in Virginia. It's like, don't say found like that. Found. Like a lost senior. Found. It's insane. Just say he was golfing in Virginia. Found in Virginia? It makes it sound like the White House didn't know. I'm pretty sure they drove him. Found. 12 hours is too long to think somebody's dead. My buddy lives with his grandpa. And every time he thinks his grandpa's dead, he finds out in about 5 minutes. His granddad does that sleep you only do when you old. You know that sleep where you like, I don't know why, but like it seems like after 70, people just sleep with a little bit too much neck. You know what I mean? Like his granddad can't just go to sleep. He always hit the like, that's a very dead way to lay. That's how Talia died at the end of Dark Knight Rises. She's like, the neck crank is a surefire way for somebody to put a spoon in front of your nose to see if you're still kicking. He does it a lot, apparently, you know, because his granddaddy sleeps pretty deep. There's that whole thing about sleep being the cousin of death, and I think it's his granddaddy's half brother, because not even a snore, not even a you know what I mean? He said he always thinks his grandpa gone when he take a nap, because the way he falls asleep, which, to be fair to my friend, this is I've never seen this in anyone else in my entire life. But he said his granddad will go take a nap. He'll announce it too, like, I lay down. And then he goes to lay down, whether it's on the couch or it's in his room, and lays his head back. And he said the way his granddaddy falls asleep is he takes a deep breath. That's a great way to look dead. This man goes to take a nap, lays on the couch and goes, Now, to be fair to his granddaddy, every time he wakes up, he does finish the breath. said his granddad never wake up peaceful. He always wake up. But even then, he's never wondered if his granddaddy was gone for 12 hours. 12 hours. Jeez. And we thought that because Trump doesn't look good. You know what I mean? He just finally looked like he act like. You know what I mean? Like if somebody listed everything a person did next to everything that they ingested, you'd be like, that's not a person who's well. And finally, he doesn't, he just doesn't look like he's doing great. I didn't even know the term. He had some venous thing. Turns out that venous thing was his ankles. His ankles, I don't know if you've seen them. World leaders have seen them. World leaders have had to sit there and not look. In case you're not familiar, look, Trump's ankles are... No, his ankles just sitting there looking, caked up. Like... I mean, he got some thickums under those socks. Trump's ankles have quite a bit of booty. I can't imagine what that must be like to be an aide in the White House and walking next to the president, taking orders from the president of the United States, but all you can hear is his ankles clapping. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, it is. It's like his ankles and then his hand. That hand. His hand is black. Like it's just... Imagine being Donald Trump and turning black. No one's more upset than him. No, that's bad. That is tough. He's over here trying to live, and if you just don't have something on the schedule, people assume. It's funny too because I go back and forth with friends. I have friends that are sort of across the political spectrum. I have these friends who, whether they tell me or not, I know that they voted for Trump. At least one of them, I'm pretty sure, voted for him 3 times. Every time he could, he did. And so we'll go back and forth all the time. We'll mostly be arguing all the time. And we argue about a bunch of things that aren't Trump. as well. Like sometimes we'll just argue about like whole social issues, whole different policies and everything. And maybe it's because I've known him longer than Trump has been president that I feel like having those arguments is, to me, worth it. You know, I don't ask anybody else to do everything that I'm doing, but I think that there is something to get to the bottom of, and it's what we are gonna do when he's gone. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that right now it's easy to put everything that's happening and how we feel about each other on one person, because it's sort of the catalyst for all this stuff. But the groundwork was being laid long before he ever became president. And so whenever he's gone, you know, we're all gonna have to figure out a way to relate to each other. Because it's not as if all of the problems begin and end with him. You know, he's just one of them. But I don't know. No idea. It's maybe. We don't know. It could be any day now. It could be 200 more years. Truly, like my grandma was in the nursing home before she passed, and I would go visit her and everything. My grandfather as well, at different times they were in nursing homes, and when I go to visit them, you'd see people who had to be 3,000 years old. And it's like, I don't know, you know, you try to live a life that's full of love, and like you try to make memories and moments with family, with strangers. You want to have a full life. You want to have a life that you look back on and you're proud of the impact you had on people, you know? And along the way, try to maybe, I don't know, eat right when you can, but enjoy yourselves, you know? And drink sometimes, not too often. Maybe party a little bit when you're younger and it wean off of it as you get older, but do your best to have a really impactful life, even if you never become whatever it is, like rich, famous, popular. You're someone who, by being in other people's lives, their lives are richer. And same way that trees in the forest have roots that overlap, your life impacts other people's lives. You create ripple effects and create positive change in the world. And hopefully by doing all the right things, you have a good long life. Or you could be the devil and probably live way longer, like way longer. So many of those people in that nursing home were very mean. They were so mean. I was like, man, life must run off hate fuel. How are you this old and mad you're alive too? Be sitting there, nothing keeps you alive longer than sitting in a rocking chair and not rocking. Imagine, you gotta really be a bad person to sit in a rocking chair, have the joy of rocking and not even want it. My friend said, you know, he went through a similar thing. He would go to the nursing home, visit his grandparents and stuff, and he said every day there was this old dude in a rocking chair, not rocking, sitting there, arms crossed in the chair. Everybody walked by. People would say hello to him. Finally, he was like, you know what? I say hello to this man when I pass him, and we never really have a conversation. He doesn't speak to me, and I don't take it personally because you never know what people are going through. You know, some people, you might think they're being rude, but maybe they have something going on. Maybe they have dementia a little bit, or maybe they're in their own head about something, trying to remember something, doing something. So he said, I'm gonna make a point the next time I go there to have a conversation with him. You know what I mean? Because that's the one thing he said he never saw anybody do. And so next time he went to visit his grandpa, on the way out, he walked up to him and he was like, "Hi, how you doing?" The man said, "I'm alive." And he's like, "Well, I hope you're having a good day." He's like, "Why would it be a good day?" And, "Well, it's nice outside and everything, sun shining. You're in a rocking chair." And he was like, "I'm in a rocking chair. I don't like this rocking chair. I just sit in it so nobody else cares." It's easy to put everything in the way that we are now and all narratives and all discourse on just one person. It's easy to do that, especially when that person looks like they're driving all of it, right? But the ground was laid for this person long before they came into any sort of political picture. You know what I mean? Like for a long time, people have felt like there was nobody who was looking out for them. For a long time, people felt like it would take somebody who could not be bought by Washington or Wall Street's special interest money, or couldn't be twisted in whichever direction by lobbyists, or was looking out for people because they weren't motivated by money, and they weren't motivated by the promise of getting rich, and the thing that we came to believe as a country almost. You saw this way before Trump ever entered the political pictures, that if someone was at least independently wealthy, maybe they wouldn't be swayed by the money. You know what I mean? And there were those people across political spectrum that felt like there was no one looking out for them, that slowly everything that was their quality of life and everything that they earned was eroding away piece by piece, right? And that they just needed someone to step up who would stand in the way of all that and wouldn't be swayed by it. And unfortunately, that person never showed up. But and so I have these arguments with my friend, and there was one point where I'm going back and forth for a while, because I felt like for everything that he said, I was saying something that was a reason why he shouldn't trust Trump on it, or why I didn't think it was something that was going to happen, And finally he goes, "Well, he's a businessman." And I had heard this before, and he said he's a businessman. And I was like, oh, he's a businessman. He's a businessman. He is a businessman. He's a businessman, though. No, like he is a businessman. He is a businessman. He's a businessman. He is a businessman. You said he's a businessman, and he's a businessman. You told me he's a businessman. I've heard this before. He's a businessman. I'm just making sure that I understand what you're saying. He's a businessman. He is a businessman. He's a businessman. So even you didn't say good businessman. You said, You said, as in he's one, as in, yes, he does business. It's a businessman. Yeah. He's a businessman. He is a businessman that bankrupted a casino. You know casinos. You know those things you don't generally leave money with. He bankrupted a casino. He's a businessman. He bankrupted a casino. A casino, though. He's a businessman. It's a businessman. Bankrupted a casino. And look, I'm not a businessman. And I don't own a casino. In fact, whenever I go to a casino, I don't even gamble. I just do the show. I've done some shows at casinos. And then, I do the show, and then I go back to my room. I leave. I don't know the ins and outs of running a casino. I hardly know what it's like to really, enjoy yourself at a casino walking through and playing games and stuff. You know, I've walked with other people as they've wanted to gamble and stuff like that. I've been like awkwardly standing there, but I don't know what it takes to run a casino. And maybe this casino, look, maybe I'm throwing this out there as an olive branch. One of many I'll extend. Maybe this casino, this one, maybe had those slot machines that really give you credit for how hard you pull them. You know what I mean? You pull that slot machine as hard as you can, and the slot machine is like, okay, Daddy. Nah, I gotta get you a little something for that. No, I don't know, but he knows because he's a businessman. He's a businessman. Maybe I'm throwing it out there that at this casino they had, working for the casino, blackjack dealers that were as bad at blackjack as me. Maybe. The dealer, you'd be at his table, and he was like, you said hit? You sure? Okay. And you win again. All right, wonderful. I don't know. He probably knows because he's a businessman. Maybe this was one of the only casinos in all of America, maybe in all of the world, the only casino with clocks. Who knows? Maybe just over the poker table was a clock, and people were like, 9 already? I should go home. I've been here for quite a while. I don't know, but I'm sure he knows because he's a businessman. He's a businessman. Bankrupted a casino. A businessman. And look, it's a casino. I can't think of a better... People come and drop off their money and leave. I can't think... I am not a businessman, but I can't think of a better business to make money. You can't even have casinos everywhere. But, you know, this is my thing. A part of me does understand how someone could think all we need to do is get a businessman in there to fix everything, because I think that America runs so much like a business, even in the parts that it shouldn't, that obviously we're going to think everything translates to business. You know? Like this was where I was naive, I'll tell you right now. I thought that even if there was no national pride or community, or even if we couldn't find some sort of like camaraderie as Americans, we at least, at our very core, loved money enough. I thought we loved money more than anyone loved him. I thought as soon as somebody messed with the money, we would all come to our senses and be like, yo, not the money. That's the only thing holding this together. But then you see there are people whose lives have already been ruined. Because of his policies, you could lay all the blame at his feet, and they're like, I'll figure something else out. You'll figure You'll figure something else out. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. Especially when, like, what? 12 months ago, you were screaming about eggs. And now your business is in shambles. And you're like, who can say? That felt insane. But also, I think that if you look at America as a business, it would make sense that you would want a businessman in there. But the thing is, you can't run the country the way you run a business. You know, a company, if they are in dire straits, could lay off half their work staff and then try to keep things going, use that to stay afloat. A company can buy back its own stocks in an effort to enrich itself as a company, make those stocks worth more. A company has a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders. A company technically does more for its shareholders than the government does for its people. And so I could see how people would be like, oh, we'd at least like to get that. That'd be nice, some dividends or equity, something. We'd at least like to feel solvent. But it just doesn't work that way. And I don't think it should. I think that a business now is very different than a business before. Like there's a thing that happened, and maybe it's only like my frame of reference because of age and everything, but I think that something happened in 2008 that we haven't recovered from still, which is that, like, for the first time ever, companies that truly screwed up beyond measure, like actually beyond measure, like they should have crashed everything. This is the type of stuff that you read in the textbook and then they, hung everybody. Like that's... We don't realize it, but that's the level of like nasty that it got in 2008. If you had, knocked off a couple 100 years and put it in France, there would have been a guillotine. You know what I mean? And instead, there was a bailout, but instead of a bailout of the people, it was a bailout of the companies, because we believe in business so much. We believe that everything works like a business, to the point where even the politicians, naively, maybe some of them sincerely, were sure that if we keep the business afloat, it'll keep the people afloat, because then people won't lose their jobs, and then people will still be able to get these services, and people will still buy these products, right? And what ended up happening is that, so many people were foreclosed on, so many people lost their jobs anyway, people's like 401ks and retirements were destroyed, and then the people that they gave the bailout to sort of, trickle down the economics, something got stopped up right at the top. And so people who had wrecked the economy beyond measure got a bonus. They got a bonus for wrecking usually when you break something. And ever since then, it feels like business is about not being left holding the bag. That's what real business seems to be now, is that you do everything you can to extract as much value as possible, and then you dip before everything comes crashing down, whether you dip because you sell the company or you dip because, you decide to shutter it after you've like fired everyone and ruined it as a service and everything. Basically private equity, right? So I believe he's a businessman. I do, because I'm sure, look, if we're talking business, to his credit, I'm sure that he was not worse off for bankrupting that casino. I'm sure it was the people that worked at the casino. I'm sure he stiffed some of the contractors who helped build the casino, but I'm sure that he found a way to leverage that debt, because he loves debt. He found a way to leverage that debt into his next venture, and then he started selling steaks or whatever. I don't know. Like, it was just, it's been a lot of products. You know what else it is too, is that You can't focus too much on this one person. It makes him more important than he really is. I understand that he's president. I understand he's one of the richest people in the world. But as far as importance, it's about what lasts, you know? This dude, no wonder we thought he was gone. He went on Fox News. No wonder we thought he was gone. Trump went on Fox News. Everybody forget this. Trump went on Fox News and just started randomly. No one asked him. Randomly talking about how he was trying to get into heaven. And it's like, then you know. One thing my buddy's granddaddy never does is talk about the afterlife. Gets up, watches his shows, takes his naps, gets up and eats, and repeats. If he was pontificating on heaven, I think people would just start assuming that every nap really was the last nap. No. It's because, you know, a man's hand. Guys, he's turning black. But I don't, look, I truly, I talk about Trump because he's in the news, but I don't really care about Trump. I care about people. What's going on with people? All of this is going to outlast this one person, you know? And even in California, you see in California, where there was one case, it seems contained and already treated and everything, but it is happening. One case of plague. You know plague. You know plague. Plague. Some would ask which plague. Apparently, the. You know plague from the producers of the Middle Ages. Plague. You know plague. Don't act like you don't know plague. You know plague. It's plague. The reason Europe's not bigger. Plague. You know plague. And no matter how much you may hate Trump, you gotta admit, this is some pretty bad luck. He 2 for 2 on presidential terms and plagues. That's crazy. That was wild. Yeah, first one a fluke. The second one, how did a plague skip Biden's era? Like that's. Plague. Because that's the fear, is that, like, yes, they found one case, they treated it, you know, they've even traced it back to a particular source, because it's really a climate change issue, because basically the fleas that carry plague are thriving right now in the warmer climate, and so then they're hopping on more rats, and then the rats might come in contact with people, right? And so there's always the fear, the possibility that it isn't just that one case, and it isn't just contained to California. There's a real fear and a possibility that plague could have spread to the president's hand. It's possible. Because what we did, and how do I put this? What we've done in the U.S. as far as presidents is it's not exactly like we're picking young ones. You know what I mean? Whatever you do, whatever that thing is, whether it's law, is military, or it's business, we seem to want you to have a wealth of experience in that field. Because there's going to be 3 branches of the government, and you may not be familiar with all of them, even if you're a career politician. You may not know how to like wade perfectly through all of them. But, you know, if you have a lot of experience in one thing, that could win you the trust of the people. And we haven't had a young president in a long time. I mean, like, Kennedy was one, like, young ones, like a young guy being president. And we haven't really done that again. Like, you know, what we've done is we've let confidence and swag make up for youth. If you are the president and you present yourself in a way that makes us feel good, we will turn that back over to you in the sort of social capital that youth usually carries, right? Because we want you to have experience, but at a certain point, we have to be realistic, right? Like, Bill Clinton wasn't young, but he had a saxophone. We had a saxophone, so we defended him. We were like, that shows lung capacity. Have you heard him play, though? And then you had George W. Bush. Look, George Bush wasn't young, but he... I don't know, he just had like a childlike wonder to his... You could always tell when he was addressing the nation and he had also just learned a new word. Bush would be up there like, terror. Did I do it good? And then you had Barack Obama. And Barack Obama was younger than some of the people who have been president, you know, before and since, but he wasn't a baby. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't incredibly young, but he had that exact thing I'm talking about. He had an energy that was like a mobilization behind him, and he had like some measure of charisma that made up for any youth he might have been lacking. You know, I remember when Barack Obama sang that Al Green. That was incredibly uncomfortable. No, because when it happened, I was at a get together with a bunch of aunties going, "Oh, Barack." I'm like, no. No, I'm trying to have my dinner right now. What you doing? Can't eat meatloaf in these conditions. And then you went from Obama to Trump, and Trump had that energy. He had people behind him, and he came off youthful because he was like a schoolyard bully. Anytime somebody said something, any interview that went awry, he was ready, nickname, anything. He was just coming at you all the time. It's like he fed off of it. It was his favorite thing to fight with the media and get people riled up. That feels like youthful energy. That feels like it's going to be here forever, you know? And then we went from Trump to Biden, who, to be fair, told us he was going to be old. I've talked about this before. We were coming at Biden. We asked Biden, and Biden was like, "Are you sure? I got a Werther's in my mouth right now." I'll do it if you want me to do it, but my car does smell like potpourri, so. I'll do it. If y'all want me to do it, I'll do it. For real. If y'all like, no. Like if I'm the only one that can stop them, if I need to do it, I'll do it. But just know, when I shake world leaders' hands at the G7, G20, whatever, my hand will pop a lot. Whole handshake. It's gonna sound like Orville Redenbacher. But if y'all insist. And then we got Trump again after Biden, and this feels very different. You go back and watch a rally of Trump from 2016, 2017, and then you watch a press conference now. Very different. It's very, very different. I mean, it seems like he's dying. Like it's because look, I'm not. It's not lost on me that to be an American, to live in the U.S., you have to become, or at least have an understanding of what you need to do to be a semi-good capitalist, right? And there are people that ask the question, how can you fight for a more equitable world while you're living in a system that is corrupt? And I look at it the way I look at when I travel and I meet people who live in the country, but they don't speak the language, right? Like, your native language is compassion and charity. You weren't made specifically to speak the language of margin calls and derivatives, dividends and everything. That's a language you can learn to get by because you live here, but it's not a language you were born with. When your parents are raising you, or when you have fond memories of being a kid, they all come from things much, much deeper than money. And then as you get older, you clearly need money to get by. That's no crime. Like, you have to function as a society. So you learn how to move with money as best as possible, but you can get distracted. It can take you to a place that makes it hard to remember your humanity. You know what I mean? Like, some people look at anyone who has succeeded in business as someone who must have earned it, but that's not how all business works. You know what I mean? Like, if I own a house and I set it on fire and I run out of the house, am I a genius, or did I just have an insurance policy? Maybe both, but maybe I'm a crook. You know? Like, only solvency that you have to contend with is your soul. You know what I mean? The solvency is defined by a company's ability to pay its long-term debts, right? If a company's not solvent, you have no trust in that company, and you probably shouldn't invest in that company. And as long as we're keeping it to financial terms, a soul works in a similar way. Depending on your belief system, depends on if your solvency, your long-term debt is to God or family, your community, or a cause. But, like, you can tell the difference between a religion and a cult by how they measure those solvencies. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that every major religion doesn't have its blemishes. It has people, so it's going to have plenty of mistakes in its history. But, a religion that only speaks to what is deeper about you and what is in you and what happens outside of all of this is probably worth looking into, worth reading about. And anything that brings it all the way down to the material good is probably a cult. You know what I mean? Just because the cult usually wants your money. They start off pretty good. A cult usually starts off with, like, a great party or something, and then, like, I don't know, in about 3 weeks they're like, hey, how much do you make? Dividends work the same way. Dividends get paid out. Companies will pay dividends to their investors, and those dividends go to go to shareholders. They go to investors. And if you have ever been the beneficiary of someone's kindness or goodwill, then you have dividends to pay throughout your life, you know? And I don't know if that can be understood if you only understand business. You know? Country isn't a business. It just isn't. You know what I mean? Like, but who knows? He's a businessman. Like, maybe he's Trump is a businessman the way JFK Jr. was a pilot. You know what I mean? Oh, all right. No, you should groan. You're on the plane.
Denver, Colorado, make some noise for Josh Johnson.
When you travel a lot, you know, there are things that happen that are sometimes simply unfair. You know, and I mean past the regular stuff, past a delayed flight or anything. Years ago, I had a flight to Boulder, and I was coming from Chicago, and I had a window seat, and the man next to me was eating a whole rotisserie chicken. And when I say whole rotisserie chicken, I want you to understand, you know when you go to the grocery store and you see with the bubble, it was that. This wasn't just some chicken, it was a whole chicken. And there's nothing like when you meet somebody and they start out nice and then they betray you, right? Because we had a very cordial conversation initially, a very I'm not crazy conversation, then he switched up on me, right? They say that not all heroes wear capes. And apparently not all terrorists have bombs, because the way it started is basically my man was in the middle seat, and you always have to be nice to the person in the middle seat, because if they're in the middle seat, their life is not going well right now, okay? Because this is the thing with the middle seat that people disregard. Whatever happened to you while you traveling also happened to them, right? Maybe you were delayed. Maybe your flight got canceled. Maybe you had to spend the night in the airport. All that happened to them too, and they're in the middle seat. So they're still having a worse day than you can imagine, right? And so I'm always nice to the person in the middle seat. So, you know, we both sit down and everything, and then we look at each other, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I feel like I'm a pretty cordial person, very approachable and everything. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'd love to strike up a conversation and stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm great. And in retrospect, he was great because he knew what he was about to do. And then we just started chatting, right? He was like, why are you flying to Boulder? I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a show. Why are you flying to Boulder? He's like, oh, I'm going on business. I was like, he must love his business. Like, well, little did I know he was going to do the devil's business, right? And so we are barely diagonal. We're basically one wheel off the ground when he decides it's his time to shine, right? And so this man reaches under the seat. He kept it under the seat because he wanted people to think it was a carry-on, right? So he pulled this chicken from under the seat. I had no idea what it was because it was just in a bag, right? So he pulls this from under the seat, and he really pulled it because I guess it got stuck, so he really pulled it, right? And then he pulls up and he lifts it. And this man is bigger than me. And anytime somebody is bigger than me and making me nervous, I go through scenarios in my head of what could happen next, right? So then he pulls this bag up and he lifts the bag. Now the bag the chicken was hot, right? So the chicken was hot, so there'd been some condensation around the actual shell of the rotisserie chicken. So the bag was clinging to the chicken, so I can't tell what it is. All I know is it's heavy and wet, right? So I look over at the bag, and it's got a little bit of steam coming out of it, and I'm like, that's why he was nice to everybody, because he got a bomb, right? And so then he grabs it from the bottom and starts peeling the bag off of the chicken, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wish it was a bomb. I think a bomb would have been easier for me to manage right now. This is actually gonna be more upsetting than a bomb. I can already tell, right? And so this is my other thing too. How did this man get this past TSA? Because there's an organization specifically designed to stop this sort of thing from happening. How did he get this on? Because they took my water. I can't have my water, but apparently he can have 12 ounces of chicken juice. So then he holding it up, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you, even when we were just chatting and stuff like that, I thought he smelled like chicken when I met him. And I felt crazy because I was like, who just smells this much like chicken? I've never been around anybody before who and when I say he smelled like chicken, he smelled like he was the chicken, right? Like he smelled like he had just danced out the oven just now, right? Like he had chicken cologne, right? And so then he's got the bag, and usually I'm a very like live and let live type person, right? Just let everybody do their thing as long as it's not harming anybody, right? And I don't like when things are like exclusion just for the sake of being exclusive, just for the sake of other people not being able to have it, right? Like we made it this price so some people can't come. We made it this price and what. But I will say, I do like, we need to keep planes plane prices, because when planes are bus prices, bus behavior comes to planes. Because when he revealed a whole rotisserie chicken out of this bag, I was like, what in the Greyhound megabus is happening right now? This is not behavior for the air, right? And so then he lays the chicken down on the tray table, and I've never seen this before, because I guess it was a big enough chicken that the tray table actually had some give to it. And I've taken naps on the tray table and haven't bent it back like that. That's an FAA unregulated amount of chicken. And so and I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I saw the chicken, as soon as I saw him put it on a tray table, I tried to dissociate right there. I was trying to go somewhere else. I was like, ooh, like, I was trying to be anywhere else but right here, because I even put on my noise canceling headphones and just tried to pick a movie and just not be a part of what was happening right now, right? But okay, I've got them on, right? I picked the movie, and I am trying to watch Moana, okay? But all I can hear is the sound of him eating chicken. Babies can't get in here. Like, and when I tell you, this is how you can tell it was like premeditated too, because this chicken was still very, very hot, which means he got it right before the flight. That means he went to Albertsons and got a full rotisserie chicken, then was like, well, I have a flight. I don't think that's what happened. I think actually he was on his way to the airport and he was like, I'm making good time. I got that pre-check. Let me make a stop by Albertsons on the way, pick up a snack, right? And so this man does not have a fork, because a fork would have got him caught, right? He just has the chicken on the tray table, and he is eating it with his hands like he is Henry VIII. And we are at a royal banquet dinner where the queen just gave birth, right? He really ripping into the chicken while picking his movie, right? Just fingers, 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 right? And so in my head, I'm like, what do I do? Because somehow this isn't illegal. See, that's a problem with our lawmakers, right? Our lawmakers write the laws after stuff happened. They're not thinking ahead to things that should never happen and writing a law for that. And likewise, with the airlines, they don't come up with the rules ahead of time. They wait for crazy stuff to happen, then they change the rules. But they should have sent it in your ticket, in your confirmation email for your ticket. They should have been like, hey, also, please don't bring any chicken from home, all right? We have all the chicken you need. The airport got you, okay? Because I don't remember this exactly, and maybe I'm not being fair, but I'm pretty sure the airport we were leaving from had a Popeyes. So he had access to chicken, but he wanted his own chicken, right? He was like, oh, they do it all apart and stuff. Let me get the whole thing. And so then I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so all right. I'm not proud of it. And I want to be clear, I didn't do this right away, right? Because even when he pulled out chicken, put it on the tray table, we are here. Like, he acted quickly. But by the time I did what I did, he had got down to the bone, okay? So he had a little bit of breast, a little bit of wing, a little bit of thigh. He had a good amount of his chicken. It looked like a crow had got to it by the time I did what I did, okay? But basically, I was like, I can't do this. I can hear it. I can't stop hearing it, right? And so I just pretended to fall asleep, right? Waited a little while. Even gave a couple, right? Because if you do the pig snores, people think it's a deep sleep, right? And so I pretended to sleep. And like, this is my thing. You probably experienced this. When you have somebody, maybe you're dating somebody and they sleep over for the first time and you see what type of sleeper they are, right? Because some people are like little squealers. Some people, some people are snorers, like, right? Some people are thrashers. I've been thrashed many times in my life. Actually, it is weird. You ever be sitting there laid up with your partner and then they thrash you and you're like, was weird that your fist was closed. Like, but anyway, I'm pretending to sleep, right? I even hit him with the right, and then just after a while, I wait a little longer, and then I'm like, bah! And then and I had to like open one eye a little bit to make sure I really got the chicken, right? Because I didn't want to miss, because you're going to get another chance, right? Like, if you miss that first time, he start protecting the chicken and everything. So, you know, I opened my eye a little bit and I cleaned that chicken. Like, I Tiger Woods that chicken. So then the chicken flies off the tray table across the man in the aisle seat, right? I forgot to mention, there was someone else who witnessed this entire thing. I'm actually very interested in what his perspective was because he didn't have headphones on, so he heard him eating the chicken in his ear. And I'm telling you right now, if it was bad for me, it was horrible for him. Because the sound of a grown man eating a rotisserie chicken with his hands does sound exactly like a dog eating a person. It's just as horrific. The sound will never go away, right? I can hear it right now, right? And so then chicken shoots across him. It hits the tray table not the tray table, the armrest of the other aisle seat, and then it hits the ground where I think it had some bounce to it because it still was mostly intact, so it was gonna move like a chicken would move, right? Now I gotta keep my eyes closed again because I'm supposed to be asleep for this, right? But I do hear a muffled scream through my headphones, and I don't know what it was because once again my eyes are closed. So I don't know. This is what I think happened. We were, as a plane, we were making a little bit of a turn. We were at a little bit of an angle, right? So we weren't still ascending, but we were like dipped a little bit like this. So I think that the chicken hit in the aisle, rolled back a little bit, must have rolled into a new person's aisle, right? And so then it rolled into their aisle, and they looked down, and all of a sudden they got their foot in a chicken, right? And that, because it wasn't a scream like, it was a scream like, and that's... And that's, I mean, any one of us would do that. If you were just on a plane and you were minding your own business, all of a sudden your foot was in a chicken with the bones in it. Like, your foot is in it and it's not coming off. It's a shoe now, so it's not coming off, right? We'd all be like, And so then I hear him through my headphones. He's like, what the hell? Like, he screams, what the hell, right? And so then I gotta pretend to wake up. So I'm like, oh. Oh, what happened? Right? He's like, dude, you knocked over my whole meal, right? He's like yelling. I'm like, oh no, did I? I'm sorry. Can I get you another one? He's like, no, that's the only one I had. I was like, oh, can I buy you something else? He's like, no, I don't want anything. Just watch the... He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. And then I did just have to sit next to that dude on the plane for the rest of the trip. I've never had anyone shoot me dirtier looks than this. He was just looking at me the rest of the flight like... I wish I had a bomb. We're really in it now, you know? We're really in it now. We have Kamala running, right? You want to know the wildest thing about Kamala running is I saw her first like 2 campaign events, right? And just to have somebody talking regular. Like truly just talking regular. I was like, she might as well have been breakdancing. The way she went up there and said thank you and was remembering names and stuff, she might as well have been hitting that. Like, yeah, it's wild. You know, because some people say that they don't see Kamala as president, but I see Kamala as president because I thought she already was president, right? And what I mean is, when Biden dropped out, I got a notification on my phone, and the notification on my phone was from a news outlet who worded the news very poorly in the headline, because I was at home and all I saw was Biden's gone, Kamala's in. And gone is you gotta use gone very carefully when you talk about Joe Biden. You can't just be out here saying gone willy-nilly, right? And so when they said gone, I was like, oh, that was the COVID he got. Like, he got the real one then. If he gone, oh no. And then I realized that he had actually stepped away. He had dropped out, and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" Because this is the thing that now that he's out of the race, I do think it's very important to have an honest conversation about Joe Biden, about his presidency, right? Because this is the thing that people forget about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a granddaddy, okay? So for a president, he seemed slow. He seemed a bit weak and frail. For a granddaddy, he was killing it. All right? Like, really take a step back for a second and think about think about your granddaddy, right? What's on the agenda in a day for your granddaddy? Really be fair. Really be honest with yourself. What do you expect your granddaddy to do in a day? First thing on the docket is to wake up, hopefully. Second, have some jam. Tell some stories. Yeah, watch some westerns, and then there's some naps to get got, right? You don't fly your granddaddy on 13-hour flights and then make him talk to a whole country and then be like, he doesn't seem up to the job. Like, because Biden was busy just being a granddaddy. Everyone loves to forget that. We went to Biden as a granddaddy, and we were like, hey, we need you to run. And then he was like, are you sure? And we were like, yeah, we think you're the only one that can do it. Please run. And then he ran, and then he won. And then for 3.5 years, nobody did any homework. Nobody did any building up of any other candidates. Nobody did any real research into who was next up. So then, election time comes along. They're like, hey, we need you again. And he was like, I'm more granddaddy now than I was before. They were like, please, Joe, come on, Because that's one thing that I don't know. I look at it and I think that both we and history should remember Biden for doing an incredibly patriotic and courageous thing. That stepping aside is a big deal, right? And it's something that I hope he always knows that we appreciate. For better or for worse, we appreciate it because, some people wouldn't have done that. Some people would have let their ego get in the way. Because this man told the world, he met with world leaders and told them, guys, I'm running, I'm going to win, it's going to be fine. And then he had to drop out, right? Dropped out on a Sunday in a tweet. On a Sunday with a tweet with COVID. And I'm not gonna lie, maybe I'm not being fair, and that's okay, but I was furious at Biden when he got COVID. How dare you get COVID the same week Trump got shot at? Trump got shot at, blood and stuff, and then Biden over here, I was furious. But I really want us, and I think that it's something that I wish more leaders did, because in a weird way, it did feel for a second like they actually listened. Because we had been saying, we were like, guys, I don't feel great. And then something happened. That almost never happens. This is America. And I think there's like this weird asterisk on his political career and on his legacy now, because then people are like, where does he go from here? He's still president for like 6 months, and we're already like, where does he go from here? Oh, that's so sad. I don't think it's sad at all. I think that Biden has a chance to stamp his legacy now. This dude he's done. He said he's done. He's not coming back. He's not running for anything else. He's towards his twilight years and everything. Like this is it. So he has the chance to do what every politician ever promises that they're gonna do. You gotta remember, when people run for the first time, they're talking all that good stuff, right? When people run for the first time, I'm gonna do this, I don't care, I'm not taking anybody's money, I'm gonna do this, and then they get in, and then they get got, right? Then all of a sudden they're talking like an assistant manager zombie. They're like, well, we have to really look at the votes. What'd they do to you? But Biden doesn't have that. He has to worry about a second term. He doesn't have to worry about next position. This dude could have the most radical presidency for the rest of the time that he's in office. He has months left to exact some of the craziest change you can imagine, because he's never coming back. This is it. This is what people wish our politicians had, right? Because you don't know who somebody is until they put in their 2 weeks. When somebody put those 2 weeks in and they're still professional, and you're like, oh, okay, they really a good worker, right? Most people put those 2 weeks in and they're like, 2 weeks, these nuts. Dude, Biden right now has the power to just go ahead and just drop executive orders like mixtapes. This dude could just straight up say, hey, everybody gets free lunch and come and kill me. Right? Free school lunch for kids. Everybody get maternity leave. How about that? You can fight me in court. I won't be there. You can fight me in court. Right? And then you look at, you look at Kamala and what her campaign's going to be like, and what the opposition against her is going to be like. And it's already started in some sense, but you can tell that people don't really know how to attack her. Not exactly, right? Like, they're going to try the regular stuff, like the racist stuff and all this. She'll get some sexism. Don't worry, she'll get some sexism. But like really attacks, like things that make you go, ooh, I don't know about Kamala, right? They don't know. And you can tell they don't know, because okay. I saw this, one attack I saw against Kamala. This is wild. Okay, let me see. All right. No, I'm just looking around, because I feel like, look, I think maybe only the black people will get it first, but I'm gonna bring everybody along, right? Because then basically there was an attack on Kamala where they were like, Kamala Harris's great-great-great-granddaddy was an Irish slave owner that went to London to oppose abolition. And then every black person I know was like, yeah. Sorta checks out. There's a reason it's her great-great-great-great-granddaddy and her great-great-great-great-grandma wasn't mentioned. And if you know, you know, right? That's what's so crazy to me is that I'm not saying Kamala's the perfect candidate at all. And I, you know, she said herself she's gonna have to earn and win your vote and everything, and she plans to do that. But I will say the last time somebody had to go back to the 1800s to attack a candidate was maybe never. That's so crazy. Her great. Yeah. But then you should ask some more questions, like, why is that? And then, oh. You know what I mean? Because the only people that caught it are the people who really understand slavery. And that's the thing that's so crazy, is that Republicans are trying so hard to attack Kamala, they may accidentally teach like, I thought you burned all the critical race theory books.
Make some noise for Josh Johnson!
Because so much is going into the Super Bowl this year. Not only is it Chiefs versus Eagles, there's so much more at play, you know? Like, everybody talks about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce because they're this idea of like the couple we imagine in our minds, but they're adults. It's like high school, but grown up. You know what I mean? Because she symbolically is like this cheerleader in our minds, this like head cheerleader, and it's not his position, but it's symbolically the quarterback in our minds. And so them getting together makes such perfect rom-com sense that there are actually people who think that all of the NFL is fixed just to keep the Chiefs winning, just to keep them going. And honestly, you kind of have to give Taylor props. There are people that think she's so powerful. She is single-handedly shifting the course of the NFL. You know? Because this is my thing with it. You know, if it's fixed, why would they be tackling so hard? You don't need to sell it that bad. If most of the teams know they're not going to the Super Bowl, I think you lay off of a couple hits. I don't think anybody's getting CTE as part of a script. I look at Taylor Swift, I look at what they did to Taylor Swift, especially that part of the season when her and Travis Kelce were just starting to date and they cut to her for no reason. And then people got mad that they were cutting to her. They'd be like, why do you keep cutting to Taylor? But Taylor can't control the camera. Taylor was just trying to eat. And then they cut to her, and then she's doing her best to probably not look annoyed, but also she's genuinely having a good time. She's there with her friends. Yeah, touchdown, yeah, right. But then people are like, why do you keep cutting to her? I don't know. This has never happened before. Cameraman's excited too. They might not even mean to cut to her every time. They're just probably like, man, this is a good play, but I wonder what Taylor's up to. Don't get mad at Taylor because the cameraman got a crush. And so then Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce together. Now Travis Kelce is an interesting dude to me. He really is. Because Travis Kelce, up until this point, I think, I don't know him that well and follow him that closely, but I think he had like mostly, if not only, dated black women before Taylor, you know? And so he has like a fade. So this dude has a fade, and people were asking him about his fade because he has his platform raised. He was already super popular, but his platform got knocked up a few levels by Dayton Taylor. There were more eyes on him than ever before. And so then, everyone was asking him about his fade. And then about exactly a year ago, from when I'm speaking right now, they asked him about his fade and what it was like to invent that look. And to his credit, Travis Kelce said, "It's the first day of Black History Month." What are you trying to do to me? Which, what an answer. You know what I mean? This is the thing I really didn't think about until that moment, is that if you're like a white dude, right? And something ignorant or even bigoted happens around you. Somebody asks an ignorant question, or somebody just says something, right? The expectation, if you're a good guy, is to say something immediately, just really stand up and be like, "Hey, that's not cool, that's not okay, don't do that," right? Just really, you can't even give it a second. You have to be like, "Hey, stop right there, okay? Hey, listen here, pal, cut it out. Hey, look, buddy, don't go any further, all right? Gosh darn it, that's racist. Don't you dare, not in my house, not. Nah, get a load of this guy. No way, not today, brother," right? That's the expectation, that you're gonna notice it, you're gonna catch it, and you're gonna jump on it immediately. And if you don't do that, then you must have been with that thing. That's the assumption, right? But then you're also, and I really didn't give some of my white friends enough credit in this position, if you take too much of a stand, that's also suspicious. You know what I mean? If something ignorant happens around you, or an ignorant question gets asked of you, and then you're like, "What? No! Racism? Not today!" "Nah, buddy, I'm putting my foot down." Because then people are like, "Oh, what? Are you hiding something? Why are you so amped up like this?" And so to his credit, he's like, "Guys, look, it's the first day of Black History Month. What are you trying to do to me? All right? I didn't invent that look, okay? I got a barber. He knows how to do the taper. Trim it down in the back, 2 or the 4. But if you want to fade, I know a guy. I know a dude, he's good. He does mine." Travis Kelce's sitting there like, "What kind of questions are you asking me? How do y'all not know any black people? You cover the NFL." What's wrong with you? And Travis and Taylor together, they do, to me at least, the little bit that I engage with, because I don't necessarily follow either one of them closely, but every time I see them together, they do look like picture perfect, in a way where I'm like, okay, obviously you're gonna get the conspiracy theories, but the conspiracy theories were weird to me because they were like people upset. But what's there to be upset about? It's football. She's blonde. We're in America. This is the most American thing that could be happening. And there are people that are like, "No, it's a psyop." I'm like, against who? It's a beautiful white couple. Who are we trying to trick? what is the plan here? That's how you can tell there's some people that just need to be mad about anything possible. I'm like, what? You're the one that said stop kneeling, and now you're mad at Taylor and Travis Kelce for holding hands. What's crazy about the Super Bowl for me is that no matter who wins, no matter who it is, the celebrations I've always found very odd. You know? I understand celebrating when you get the touchdown. I love those. I hated when the NFL tried to like clamp down on any showboat, any celebrations, because you just did one of the hardest things in the world. Imagine if you did that for like a scientist. Scientist finds the cure and he can't even do a little. And you're like, Josh, why are you comparing scientists finding cures to players getting a touchdown? I'm telling you right now, they're almost as hard as each other. Because I have some pretty sizable individuals in my family, you know. And I have a cousin, he's 2'11", all muscle. If I wanted to get around him, I'd need something sharp. So trust me when I tell you, if I get around this man and then outrun him and then get a touchdown, I'm hitting it hard. I'm hitting it in his face because it may never happen again. I love like a good touchdown celebration. They spike that ball and then you see what moves they have because these are big men. These are very big men. So they're not always the most agile. Like they're good at running, but usually in a straight line. A lot of the times when these players fall, it's falls where, look, I'm not a professional athlete, but I don't tip that easy. Every once in a while, you'll see an NFL player run it, and then somebody just sort of moves their shoulder, and they're like, uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. That's my favorite, is when they catch it, and then somebody's too close, and they're like, we going down, all right. No, but when they get in the zone, they've spiked the ball, there's a couple seconds left, and they're allowed to celebrate. This is when you could really do it. And they hit something you didn't even think was possible, you know. Really flowy with it. You know what I mean? They use their hips and stuff. That's my favorite. I wish it was even longer. They should get more time to do it, you know? Like hockey has whole breaks for fights. You could let a guy run in and get on his hands and knees, and then the other guy's like, yeah! No, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing to see them that excited, that happy. This is what they work for. This is what they put their bodies on the line for, and it's why they're in pain most of the time. These dudes retire, and it's not like they can just take an Advil. They just have headaches for the rest of their life. And so in this moment, they did what they came to do. They scored, maybe they won. Let them celebrate, you know? Some of the celebrations I don't get, though, like when they win and they have to throw some sort of liquid on the coach. I feel like we never ask the coach how they feel about it. Because they don't always look excited. It's almost like a requirement that whatever it is has to have some ice. And it has to be a surprise. They never do it from the front. It's always just poured all over the coach. Why is it? They win. They did what they came here to do, and they look at the coach and they're like, yeah, drown him. He'll love it. On top of everything, with Travis and Taylor and the Chiefs, you have the Eagles fans. Truly remarkable. They're terrifying. And it doesn't matter who wins, because whichever city wins, this happens every year, every Super Bowl, every Stanley Cup, whichever city wins, looks like it's been attacked the next day. Why is it that the winning city looks so busted? The day you won. Why are you tearing up your city? The team will win. And then their own fans will go out into the city and cause so much destruction. You would think the other team sent their city. Like, go get them, Kansas City. What they did to us. You know, I've watched it happen. You know, I lived in Chicago when the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. And a bus. They were leaving, everybody's excited. And then there was just like a group think, that's a bus. It shouldn't be right side up. Let's go correct that right now. And then the bus driver is sitting in the bus like, y'all, I'm your ride. Why are y'all? We're going down. And on top of it all, you have the Super Bowl halftime show performed by Kendrick Lamar. And as far as we know, SZA and potentially some other guests, you know. And this is wild. You know, Kendrick said it about himself, but truly, we're seeing astronomical, historical levels of him being the biggest hater in the world. Fundamental hate. A hater where I pray I never have a hater that plans as well and executes hate so efficiently as Kendrick Lamar. This man hates the level of hate. Okay, so if you are not aware, in the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, the first song that you could say maybe even kicked off the whole thing, some people say it was like that, but some people say it was First Person Shooter. And in First Person Shooter, Drake says, big as the what? Big as the what? Big as the Super Bowl. And I guess Kendrick said, challenge accepted. Because you're not ready for the level of hate I can bring. And then there was a whole beef and this whole thing happened. And, you know, Kendrick kind of, I don't know, I guess ruined Drake's life. And then it's announced that Kendrick is gonna be doing the Super Bowl halftime show. And Drake, he started suing. He started suing different parties. He started suing in different ways, different lawsuits claiming different things, some defamation, some were just petitions to get information, claiming that Not Like Us, the song that I'm assuming plays in Drake's head 24/7. You know, that song that they use bots. They must use bots. That's why it's so popular and everything. And then he withdrew one lawsuit and he filed another lawsuit. And it would seem, I'm not Drake and I'm not on his team and I don't know his lawyers, but it would seem that all these lawsuits are to, in some way, hopefully, possibly, stop Kendrick Lamar from performing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl. That is what a lot of people think all of this is about. He just doesn't want him to perform that song at the Super Bowl. And so maybe he thinks that if he causes enough legal trouble and kicks up enough of a fuss, that the NFL will be like, hey, sir, Mr. Lamar, Mr. Morale. I heard it, great album. If you could not do this one, because we just don't want to be involved in any suits and stuff. I think that's what Drake was hoping. And It appears that has not worked, because then a representative for the NFL came out and said Kendrick can do whatever songs he wants, whatever, it's his halftime show, so let him perform, you know what I mean? And that's got to be rough. That must be rough if you're Drake to hear that, because now all Drake can potentially do is sue sound. That's the only thing he hasn't tried. If he comes out and is like, hey, anybody making noise can get it, all right? It's the only thing I can think of. You know what I mean? Because it must be terrifying. If you're Drake, to think that Kendrick might perform Not Like Us at the Super Bowl halftime show, one of the most watched events in television, period, might be him doing a song he wrote about you. A song that already, as I'm speaking, has won 3 Grammys. That's gotta be terrifying, to think that he might go out there and perform Not Like Us at the Super Bowl, and the audience knows every word. That would be terrible. That would be, because I would never want to know that. Even if somebody made a song that was devastating about me and my life, and it really tore me up and everybody liked it, I wouldn't want to know that they knew it word for word. You know? That's got to be terrifying, to think that Kendrick Lamar might get out there and perform Not Like Us. Might to a loud stadium of fans screaming. You know? Try and strike a chord, and it's probably I think even scarier than Kendrick performing Not Like Us is the audience performing Not Like Us. Because honestly, anticipation is enough. That's how real entertainment works, you know? Whether he performs it 17 times or he doesn't perform it at all, it's already met the moment in that way, you know? Everyone kicking up a stink about it is what actually caused it to get so much attention, just to see if he'll do it, you know? I mean, I hope he does it. I kind of hope it's the only thing he does. Mainly because the Super Bowl halftime show is recorded, and it has all of its own production elements that gets them submitted for the Emmys. And so there's a chance that this Grammy-winning song might become an Emmy-winning performance. Oh. I will say though, sometimes it feels like with sports, it's the only time you see so much investment. You see so much come out, like just thrill, agony, all these emotions around a dude's team, around that game, around players and stuff. And I think it's because like sports is one of the few places, maybe even one of the last places, that like a man can express all the aspects of human emotion. He can cry over his team losing. He can be elated. He can be like giddy like a little kid or something. And it's one of the last like socially acceptable places. It's very easy to say like, no, just cry. It's okay for men to cry, but you're not ready. I love when people say like, no, just No, come on. Just break through decades and generations of trauma to just like do what feels like what you want to be doing. No, the only thing stopping you is your mind. As if it's that simple, you know? Sports is one of the last few places that these bonds can be created and that you can fully express yourself. It even creeps up in little different ways. Things that you are innocuous enough, but they run cover for other things, right? Like, let's go. Every one of us here knows a man who has a water bottle. Maybe it's half full, maybe it's a quarter full, but he throws it up in the air. And it flips, and it flips, and it flips, and then if it lands right side up on a flat surface, he will lose his mind. He throws the ball up, it flips, 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 lands right side up. Let's go! Like, let's go was just invented to run cover for dudes crying. It is. Go! It's the same mouth movement. It's the same shapes. And if you scream, let's go hard enough, you know, you can squint. And when you squint, people can't tell you're crying. Because we've all known a man. All of us here have known a man where his team, whatever the reason it is that he loves that team, it doesn't matter. His team is down. All right? Loved this team since he was a little kid. Memories going to the stadium and everything. His team is down. It's a very important game. Playoff game. Maybe the game that decides whether or not his team goes to the Super Bowl. This team that he loves, who maybe has never got this far in a long, long time. And they're down with 3 seconds left. They have possession and they throw a Hail Mary pass. All right? Wide receiver is running for his life as hard as he can. He jumps up in the air, and then by his fingertips, he manages to get control of the ball in the air. He clenches it tight. He lands. Touchdown. Touchdown. The team was behind, and now they're ahead. They've won. There were 3 seconds left. The game is over. And then your friend, who's not on the team, who's not at the game, your friend on his couch pops up in front of the TV. Let's go! Like, truly, as men, I don't even think we would need let's go if we just felt more comfortable saying, I really needed that. Because I even try now to add more sports analogies in the examples that I make, because I feel like it accesses some people who don't get what I'm saying otherwise. There are people that are truly, you know, we give them a bad rap and everybody makes fun of them and everything, but there are people who are genuinely very, very intelligent. You can tell they're intelligent because they find a game that they love and all the game theory around it and all of the possible combinations of what a play could be go through their head. They can screen a play perfectly, almost like it has the lines that we see on the screen, right? But for them, it's playing out perfectly. They know what's happening next. They know someone's made a mistake as soon as the play starts because they understand the game that much. They just don't ever know why their wife is mad. But I think if we incorporated more sports analogies in arguments, people would understand what went wrong. You know what I mean? Like maybe you're mad at your boyfriend or your husband because he forgot something. He forgot something that was really important, you know? And maybe it was like your sister's birthday and you had so much going on that you asked him to go pick something up and then meet you at the party. And instead of going to pick it up, he just met you at the party, and now the place is closed. And so it looks like you didn't get your sister anything, and so you're upset with him because you asked him for this one thing, and instead of doing it, he just kind of blew it off, or he wasn't paying attention, or he genuinely just forgot and then showed up, and he doesn't understand why you're upset. But if you say to him, look, it was fourth quarter. It was fourth quarter, and you're at the 3rd-yard line. Like, you're in danger of the other team getting a safety. That's how clutch this is. You only have a few seconds to pass off that ball, right? And if you don't do it just right, that's it, you know? We're not coming back from this, you know? And instead of looking out for your receiver who's wide open until 5 p.m., like I said, who's wide open. Instead of passing off to your receiver in that moment, you're looking at your tight end, you're looking at your other receiver, you're looking at defensive linemen for some reason, like your head is just in the clouds, and out of nowhere you allow yourself to get sacked, right? I'm telling you, that husband, that boyfriend, these are good people. He would be like, oh, damn. Her present was the receiver. Oh. Got you. My bad, baby, my bad. No. Even in instances that people are like insanely divided on, like to the point of threats, to the point of the threat of violence, even in political arguments, if you use some sort of football analogy, sometimes that cuts through, you know? Like if Trump is the quarterback. And he hikes the ball, because this is the play that he called. He called this play. This was his play that he wanted. He gets to call the play. Not always, not every play, but this play specifically. He called this play because he wanted to do it, because he thought it was a good idea. This was his play, right? And then everybody was open. The tight end was open. The wide receiver was open. All right, defensive backs. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. Everybody on the sideline was cheering, giving support like they were supposed to, and everybody on the field was playing their position as best as possible. And the screen was even working well. You know, everybody's moving out of here. People are wide open, and then your quarterback, rather than throwing what could potentially be a touchdown pass, he just sort of threw it out of bounds. Which is confusing. So the next time that y'all huddle up, you ask him, you're like, hey, what was that? What happened? That was the play that you picked. Why'd you throw it out? Were you scared you were gonna get sacked? What is it a time thing? You're trying to stop the clock? Like you're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt in as many ways as you can. Like, hey, so what's the plan here? You're literally bent over, huddled up, looking in close. What's the plan? What are you doing? What is the goal here? Because I thought I was playing my position perfectly, and then you do the. So what's next? What happened? Tell me what happened. And then your quarterback is like, I think the ball was black. I don't know. You know? I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying that when I tune in to the Super Bowl on Sunday, I plan to watch a good game, hopefully a game
that makes sense. Hopefully a game that is epic enough that it can yield more analogies for my daily life. And if Kendrick Lamar performs Not Like Us, I'd be a liar if I didn't tell you that even though I wasn't on stage and I wasn't at the game, I wouldn't pop up off my couch like, let's go! Cincinnati, y'all been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Put your hands together for Josh Johnson, everybody.
Like, I've been traveling a lot, and in traveling, it's hard when you're an adult to look at things that you experienced when you were a kid and not recontextualize them when you get more information. When you're a little kid, the world is face value. Everything that's happening is happening because I guess it's supposed to, or because that's what people do, or everything's very simple when you're a little kid, and then you get older and you see different things, and you look back, you know, and you're like, wow, that's what was going on when I thought things were just normal, you know? And I've been experiencing that a lot with around America with the dollar stores. There are three types of dollar stores. There is Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General. Now, an honorable mention does go out to the 99-cent store. The 99-cent store I want to discuss first, because the 99-cent store is completely unhinged. First of all, they don't have inventory at the 99-cent store. They have what they have, and you either found it or you didn't. You know that you found it or you didn't because what they showcase outside the 99-cent store doesn't make any sense at all. It's just up to the discretion of that, like, franchise owner. The 99-cent store, the store will be here, right? And then they'll just put 2 shower curtains and then 16 potted plants out front. What is this place? Then you walk in and it's like, it's like if somebody truly made a business out of garage. Because when you walk in, nothing has like a designated spot or anything. There are things hanging on hooks I didn't even remember had hooks. I forgot that each broom I've owned had like a little hook to it. But then when you walk into the 99-cent store, almost like a beaded curtain, you walk through brooms hitting you in your face. The 99-cent store that I went to was so big. It was way too big. It was a warehouse of trash. It was like a hoarder died and then they tried to sell everything. Because the 99-cent store I went to had a stick man. It had a man who would get to the tallest stuff at the top. And this was the worst stick man in stick man history. Like, admittedly, some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, and this is a black thing. Like, this is mainly where we shop. There is a stick man. But, like, the stick man was not good at all, because you're used to a stick man getting up there and unhooking something with precision, bringing it down. You know, he might even drop the stick a little bit, catching his hand, hand it to you, right? This stick man was over here. I can't tell if he was nearsighted or farsighted, but he could not see what he was sticking. This man was over here battling. You'd be like, can I get the one up there? He's like, yeah, I got you right now. I got you right now, young blood. Then it falls on the ground. He pick it up, dust it off.
No. Our stick man was trash, and he had okay, look. I need glasses. All right? I'm not better than anybody. I'm not judging. Everybody got their own prescription, and that's their cross to bear, all right? But he had the most specific eyes I have ever seen in my entire life. This man had one Coke bottle and one that was very thin. Like, just, it seemed like he just needed a monocle, but he was like, nah, I don't trust myself to hold it on my cheek like that. Go ahead and give me glasses and just make one glass transparent glass. Because he clearly only had one bad eye. Like, it's, his eye, like this eye had to be good, because when you would look at him, one eye looked like he was doing this to you, right? Like one eye looked super big and the other eye looked regular. But then when you saw him, when he would turn, you could see both of his eyes were regular size eyes. So that was just the glass. And so he had one like Coke, but thick, bulletproof glass on this side, and then one that was very, very thin, right? He would knock stuff over and go pick it up and everything. And he worked at the 99-cent store since maybe before time. This man had been there a very long time. He might still be there now, I don't know. But everything that's there is not like quality. You know what I mean? It's literally 99 cents in today's economy. This stuff isn't even just made in China. This is up off the floor in China. This is the stuff that they throw away in China, that they were like, you want this? All right. If you sure. This is how you can tell these are the worst products ever made in the history of humanity. They are so toxic that whatever you touch, whatever color it is, that's the color you are when you get done touching it. If you touch a green broom, you will pull back a Shrek hand, all right? I had a green broom and a blue dustpan because they were sold separately, you know? Goodness forbid you package them together and they're $1.19. You know what I mean? They were like, we can't have that. We'll have each for 99 cents. And then I bought the green broom and the blue dustpan, and one hand was Martian Manhunter and the other hand was Smurf. I couldn't get my hands back to normal for days. I don't know what they painted that with. Spray paint comes out easier. 99-cent store is trash. And then you get to Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree made the guarantee a long time ago that everything would be $1, and they were the first to break that promise. You want a lesson in life not being fair? You go as a child to the Dollar Tree and buy one of their very illegal individually packaged Capri Suns. Capri Sun they don't sell them like this. You're not supposed to do this. That's how I knew I was broke sometimes. Like you a kid going into the Dollar Tree for a Lucy Capri Sun. It was terrible, but like, and you know, they don't put them on the shelf. You gotta know if you know. And so you go up there, you like, all right. Feel like I'm buying weed or something. I'm over here, come on, sip, come on. You miming it, you. One time I bought a loose Capri Sun, and the man up in Dollar Tree tried to charge me for the straw. I was like, you are the devil. You are, ooh, I rebuke you. That's crazy. You gonna sell, that's how I can tell you a demon. You gonna sell me the straw separately. What am I supposed to do with this? Suck it with a safety pin? This is crazy. That's insane. This man over here sliding the Capri Sun to me, and I'm looking at him. What's wrong, man? You know, come on. He's like, that's extra, young blood. I'm like, hey, what? From a young age, I could identify with people who rob stores because that was very aggravating. Dollar Tree was over here just, letting themselves run out of inventory. I would go in the Dollar Tree and there'd just be whole spaces, whole sections empty. At least the 99-cent store is packed. Packed to the brim with stuff that doesn't even make sense. The 99-cent store would have one of something, proudly. They'd have one of something and the price tag. There was one time I went to a 99-cent store, I saw one bra. That's crazy. I'm like, that's lost and found, if anything. Y'all don't have a single other bra in here. And you gotta hang the bra next to the snacks. You know you shouldn't be selling this bra. Because Dollar Tree would let themselves run out of everything, and then you walk in, it's just bare shelves and stuff. At least the 99-cent store would try to make sense of things. 99-cent store doesn't make any real sense at all, and you can tell because sometimes they'll sell stuff that should be sold for a totally different purpose. I've been very confused in a 99-cent store before. One time, I was in a 99-cent store, and on the shelf it said 99 cents. So far, everything's checking out. It said 99 cents, and then it said hat. It was a hat for 99 cents, right? But then on the shelf, clearly, is a bucket. That's a bucket. It's a bucket, though. Like it is, like I'm not crazy. That's a bucket. You can make it a hat if you want, if you believe, but that's a bucket. All you gotta do is flip this over on its bottom and put bucket, and we don't have any problems. But hat is crazy. And then when I'm checking out, I bought a broom, I bought a dustpan, and then he's like, and one hat? And I was like, you don't believe that though. There's no way you believe that. Because it's not a hat, it's a bucket. And I want to be clear, it's not even a bucket hat. It is a bucket. A bucket. So then you have Dollar Tree, then you have Family Dollar. Family Dollar, I've talked about this before. Family Dollar really helped me pinpoint on the map of life where I was. There's a quote, I'm gonna get it wrong, but there's a quote by, I think it was Nikola Tesla, that said that man's grasp, the reach, it's man's grasp, what is it?
Man's grasp exceeds his reach.
Man's grasp exceeds his reach. And I think, it's man's grasp.
Reach exceeds his grasp.
Man's reach exceeds his grasp. I was never gonna correct you because I didn't know either. But as soon as you said something, it did sound. Yeah. I didn't know either. So man's reach exceeds his grasp, and I think that Family Dollar's inventory exceeds its means because every year of my life, Family Dollar has been trying harder and harder to be a grocery store. Every time I go up in Family Dollar, they add one more item that they should not have at Family Dollar. I remember the day I went in Family Dollar and saw milk, and I was like, no, we not built for this. A lot of people are gonna get sick, okay? I'm a kid, but I'm still trying to tell adults how to run their business. I was like, y'all don't even have the fridge space for this milk. Come on now. And Family Dollar has always helped me keep track, truly, being honest with myself of where I am on this map of life, right? Because at first, I walked in Family Dollar, I saw milk, and I was like, y'all, don't do this. And 2 years later, I was like, let me go ahead and get the milk. 3%, you say? I've never heard of 3% before. That is interesting. I've never had 3% in my life. Maybe I'll get stronger bones. Who knows? So you got Dollar Tree, you got Family Dollar, and then you have Dollar General. Dollar General is the stuff of nightmares. Dollar General is straight out of a horror movie. And I don't say that because of the experiences I've had at Dollar General. I say that because of where they put Dollar Generals. Dollar General will be the last thing you see before you die. And not in a curse sort of way, not in like the Ring sort of way. Dollar General will be put in the middle of a field. Whether you are in the South or the Midwest, the only places Dollar General truly exists and thrives is the middle of nowhere in the South, the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, and the Sahara. I don't know. By the time you see a Dollar General, you're like, is this a mirage? Because I've seen nothing but fields for 30 minutes and then one Dollar General. With a man working there from the 1800s, who knows? Those Dollar General, people that work at Dollar General get bold with you when they're out. When you out in like their area, you at this Dollar General in like Ball, Louisiana. You walk in, it's like, not from around here, huh? It's like, you even talking like the movie. Who says that to a customer? Not even where you from. Not from around here, are you? Oh. Now you can tell a Dollar General is terrifying. Because out of a Dollar Tree and a Family Dollar, I'm just talking about my experiences growing up, you know. Out of a Dollar Tree and a Family Dollar, a Dollar General is the least likely to be robbed, all right? I've seen Dollar Generals, you know, be on the news, not for being robbed, for the attempt. Do you know the horror that has to go down for the attempt of a robbery to make the actual news? Nothing got stolen, but everything that happened was still so bad that it made the news. There was a dude who was on the news. I'm pretty sure it was Dollar General. And this dude made the news because they ran up in the Dollar General trying to rob it, which also not a great plan. Dollar General doesn't exactly have a lot of sales going on. And so for all the sales they do have going on, let's just say no Dollar General I've heard of needs a safe, all right? And so to run up at a Dollar General to rob it, you already expecting to run out with like $26, okay? But this man ran up in a Dollar General trying to rob it, right? And not only did they take his gun, they beat him with his gun. And then the getaway driver called the police on them. I'm just curious how that went. Because when you run up in a place to rob it, you at least have what one would hope is the element of surprise. You would hope a place doesn't get robbed so often that they are ready like Neo from the Matrix to snatch the gun out of your hand as soon as you walk in. I'm sure people going in to rob a place have like a rob and walk or like a gun-toting bravado maybe. But imagine being robbed so often that you're like, no, when they come back. Because this is the thing that blows my mind, is that we're in the South, and this dude ran up in a Dollar General to rob it, and they didn't shoot him. The South loves guns. We love guns. And we, like a fever dream, wish we could shoot someone. And then here is someone running in with a gun to do evil. Someone that the law would say, shoot. And the employees at the Dollar General were like, actually, I really prefer hands. Imagine how crazy you have to be, how bad of a week you must be having for somebody to run up in there with a gun out to rob you, and you go, this is exactly what I needed. You know what? Let me tell you something about the Lord, all right? The Lord won't put more on you than you can bear, okay? And the Lord knew people had been trying me all week. People I wasn't allowed to hit. People that I could never put my hands on. And so then the Lord sent you to me at work, the place I hate most, to go ahead and take out a week's worth of frustration on you with the butt of this sawed-off shotgun. Imagine you run into a Dollar General to rob it, gun already out. Hey, everybody freeze, whatever he said. And then the employees turn and he's like, open the register. And they're just smiling. You don't know what happens next. Maybe a blackout. Maybe you watch them take the gun out of your hands because you weren't expecting that. And then you see the butt of the gun coming back real slow. I'm sure the next part is a blur. I'm sure all you really know is you hear yourself getting whooped. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. You forget, was this my gun the whole time? It's not acting like my gun. You wake up. The police are standing over you, and you haven't been arrested. Because all the damage was done to you. Oh, Dollar General, insane. It's crazy, too, because every once in a while, Dollar General will buy a store that used to be a nice store. Like, it used to be like a dope store. Like, truly, it used to be like crazy. Like, I remember there was a place I went with my grandma, and I don't even remember the name. That's how like little I was, where it was just a memory of being with her,
her holding my hand and us walking into this place. And you know how when your little things are bigger? So I'm sure if I went there now, it would look like the size of a regular department store. But she took me to this place and it was huge. In my head, it was so big, right? And she bought some socks, she bought some other stuff and everything, and then we left. And I remember when I would ride with her, because, you know, I would go with my grandma during the summers or after school. My mom would drop me off at my grandma's because she would still be working and stuff. And so when I'd run errands with my grandma, we'd pass that place over and over. And I'd always want to go back inside because I had such a fun memory of, like, there were so many toys. It's just huge, right? And it had closed. And so my grandma would remind me every time that it had closed, right? And then eventually it became like a dollar store, like a chain dollar store. And I remember it being like, man, that place was cool. And now they sell 3% milk. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I told my friends a story a long time ago about how my friend met this woman online, right? And this was back when meeting people online was still like not quite done. It was still new to do that. And the woman that he met wanted to meet up one night, which is exciting because this is why you do it. And she said she wanted to meet up, and he was like, where do you want to meet? And she was like, oh, behind the library. Which should have been a clue. Said you want to meet behind the library, and he was like, oh, okay. Which library? Because so she told him which branch. And then they met up, and it just took him too long to realize he was being robbed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just... like, even when he showed up and it was two dudes, he was like, but where's Sarah? It's like, You need to wake up, dude. Sarah's a fiction. And that's the way that I feel about Trump federalizing D.C. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I was watching it this morning and watching them talk about it, and it was an interesting speech because you would have thought he would have stayed on crime the whole time, but he definitely diverted a few times. Like, there was one point where I really don't, like, I'm not even joking right now. I genuinely don't understand what he was trying to say, because there was one point where he was talking about how, like, trans people fight or something, and it just started to feel like the kind of conversation you have with someone who is 2,000 years old. Like, it just... It was weird. It was like because it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like part of the thing. And then people, are obviously like worried, terrified, confused and everything. Because there are people who are like, he can't do that. That's not legal.
And whenever I hear that, I'm like, what are you, a Democrat? Like, this is the goofiest. That's illegal. It's like, all right. That's what my buddy said when he was getting robbed, too. He was like, well, this is illegal. Stop. Out of your mind. Hey, that's illegal. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But what are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. That's a question that Democrats constituents ask. That's a question that Trump is asking. That's a question on everybody's mind right now. If you oppose what he's doing, what are you gonna do about it? You know? And I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I know what to do at all because I genuinely don't. I mean, I know that people protested today off of the announcement, off the fact that, like, just imagine you live in D.C. and Trump says he's gonna, like, deploy the National Guard. And you just, like, not only is crime at this, like, 25, 30-year low, but, like, you just got to the point where you were probably starting to feel kind of safe on the street, and now it's gonna be the National Guard looking at you every day, confused why they're there too. You know? People forget that the armed forces, like obviously, you know, soldiers are supposed to follow orders and everything like that, but the armed forces are filled with people of differing backgrounds and opinions and everything. So it's not as if everybody that ever gets deployed is excited to be deployed. And it's not as if they're always well taken care of when they are deployed. You know, these people, they signed up to do a service for the country. I'm curious how they feel about being deployed against the people that they're supposed to protect instead of against, like, some foreign invader or something. You know, I'm not gonna act like I know. I've never served or anything, but I've talked to people in the service, and they come from all different types of backgrounds. They vote in all different types of ways, and I'm sure that if you're walking down the streets of DC feeling disheartened, feeling like you're being occupied, there's probably somebody standing there as you walk into work that's like, yeah. I don't know, because it has been on my mind all day, and trying to figure out how to not just like talk about it, but say something more than just like, I think that might be bad. Like, I think that we're having a moment a lot like my friend had, where it's like you just have to be very aware of what's happening, because to not be aware doesn't mean the thing will go away, you know? Like, we don't want to be behind a library going, "Where's Sarah?" for our entire democracy. Because that's, yeah. I think that's the thing that I find so, like, aggravating about it, is that he is a person that tells you what he's gonna do, and then he does it. And then there are people who supposedly like him that are positive he's not gonna do the thing they said he was gonna do. They're like, no, he won't do that though. And it's like, then why would he say it? He trolling. Like, he's just like, all right, but what if he's not? No, he wouldn't do the thing he said he'd do. Who does that? You know? Because I'm not gonna act like I know what to do. And I think it's more important for everyone to everyone should know who, on every level, their representatives are and what they do for you and what they're doing for you right now. And it's easier to hold those people to account when you know who they are. You know what I mean? Like your state senator or everything down to like, you know, alderman. Everything. Because it's the fact that these people go unnoticed, the fact that we expect whoever, business people, celebrities, whatever it is, to pick up the slack of the people that were elected to do those jobs, all right? Like we're in a position now as a country that's very scary because we look to companies to do some of the work that local government should be able to do. And now we've stripped resources from local government to the point where you do need who knows, Amazon to come in and bring in jobs, because how are we going to get jobs now? Or you need on a state level companies that you give everything to, and they give you very little for the resource that you're missing, you know? And so now we're at a point where some of our infrastructure is completely buckled without us really realizing it. You know, there's been such an influx of money into the economy because of AI and because of the gamble and the race to be number one in AI that all these companies are making. There's been such a rush to build and fill these data centers that money is flowing in a way that, you know, the effect of the tariffs isn't fully being felt. The economy and the like 5 top businesses in the S&P 500 are now carrying most of the weight of the S&P 500. Like we're at a point that's close to tipping, and it's very important for the people to be held accountable. They're actually accountable. You know, it gets very easy to divert and get mad at this person or notice that this person said something, whatever it is. It's the actual people who vote on these things, who have the power to say yes or no to large companies, knowing that you know where they are and what they do, that holds them to account. As long as you are distracted or you're blaming whatever, the person to blame when it's too late, then things are going to stay the same. You know, representatives, to me, work a lot like when you're out with your friends, and let's say you're like young too, maybe you're like 21, out at a bar or a club for the first time. You don't have any experience with this stuff. You're just the 4 or 5 of you guys all together, buddies in college, going out to like a bar or a club for the first time. You don't really know. You don't have any swag yet. Don't have a ton of confidence. All you know is you see 4 or 5 beautiful ladies across the room. And so you think to yourselves, oh, well, what should we do? One of us should say hello. We should say hello, you know, and then maybe they'll want to come over here, or maybe we can go over there, but it should just be one. If it's all 5 of us, that's just, ooh. You have enough wherewithal to know that all 5 of you approaching at the same time maybe isn't the move. 5 horny men approaching all together. Ooh, doesn't come off well. You know what I mean? If all 5 of you are... It's not going to go fantastic. You know that. So you decide, I'm going to we'll send a representative. One of us, the best of us, to make us look good. We'll send them over there. He'll charm everybody, and then we'll walk over and reap the benefits of his hard work. You know? Or maybe he'll be so charming that he'll invite them over to our table, and then we can order drinks for us and them. But we'll know that we sent him, he did a good job, and then he'll come back to us. And so your friends, they start campaigning. They start campaigning with promises, you know? No, I can go over there. I can do it. I can do it. It's like, no, listen, Daryl, you blink too much, all right? You blink way too much, all right? You gonna run up in there, they gonna think it's a bomb under them or something. You blinking too much. You blinking now. Stop blinking so much. We can't send you over there. You look nervous right now. And so then the group nominates Mark. Mark has at least had a girlfriend. He knows how to talk to women. He's had a girlfriend, he has sisters, and a mom. He knows what to do. Let's get Mark over there. So Mark, elected by the group, goes over there, you know. And even before he walks over, he says something that Mark would say. You know, he stands up and he's like, hey guys, thank you so much. All right, your faith in me means a lot. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna do my best for us, for all of us, okay? I appreciate you all so much. And look, I'm gonna do my darndest. Who knows what the result will be, but your faith in me means the world. No matter what, we're gonna have a great night tonight, okay? See y'all in a second. And then he goes over, he makes his approach. And because Mark is engaging, he's sweet, and he's interesting, he's easy to talk to, and because he's extroverted and he's outgoing, he knows how to approach without creeping or intimidating. And so quickly, you see these 5 ladies having what looks like a really good conversation with Mark. Things are looking up. This is incredible. The body language is phenomenal. Mark is over here working the room. And then Mark makes that motion and he points at y'all. Y'all weren't ready. You didn't know. Everyone was about to look over here. And so Mark points over at you and you're like, Mark turns around and keeps chatting, and after a while, things start to slow down. You don't really know why, but some nods and still a couple of laughs. And then Mark, he doesn't beckon you over. He doesn't give the thumbs up like they're about to head back with him. And he comes back, he sits down, and your dumbest friend is like, how'd it go? And Mark says, well, fellas, they all have husbands. But Mark did his best. And that's not actually his fault. He tried, right? You can send a representative. They can promise to do something, and maybe the thing is bigger than the promise that they made. That is possible. That they tried as hard as somebody could try. And they didn't deliver because the circumstances weren't there. But let's talk about a different scenario, a more common scenario. Maybe Mark was sick. He wasn't even there. He's at home. Your buddy Chet is campaigning. And Chet campaigns on some pretty jarring promises. He's like, look, I'm gonna go over there, all right? I'm gonna be like, what's up? Be like, hey, ladies. You know, that'll get their attention real quick, because I'm gonna pop up right in. I'm not even gonna just like stroll up. I'm gonna walk up, and then I'm gonna clear those last 2 steps real fast, really get in their face. Bow, right? Like that. What's up, lady? And I'm just gonna tell them what it is. I'm like, you could have a boring night, or you could have a night with us. And look, Chet is the loudest. He's the loudest. He's the most adamant, with the supposedly strongest campaign. And so you elect him, he unfortunately becomes your representative. And you see him off, and he doesn't give a speech like Mark did. He gives a speech like, all right. Next time you see me, I'm gonna be smelling like perfume, all right? And then he walks over, and you see him walk over, and his approach is startling. Because he can't just walk over. He's doing like He's doing a walk that's like kind of Denzel, but if Denzel was severely hurt. You know, Denzel has that swag to his walk. Chet is over here. And then he does what he said he was gonna do. He walks up, and you can't really hear him, but you can see the body language. You don't hear him give his little speech, but you can tell when he gives it, because everybody slapped him. And then he walks back over. He sits down. And your dumbest friend goes, how'd it go? And he's like, man, let's get out of here. Everybody's stuck up in here. Oh. And it does feel like that's where we are. Yeah, I mean, we're in a pretty bad situation. There's way more Chets than there are Marks. You know, because I used to look around, especially when I first started touring, even when I was in some of the worst, you know, motels, hotels, like some of the worst, like. But I did, the first time I ever got a chance to travel this country at all and meet new people who were from new places that I had never been to before. Not only did I have a good time because I was having these new experiences, but I really felt like I was seeing something really, really beautiful. Everybody wasn't happy and everybody didn't get along. I'm not like pining for a time that didn't exist. I'm just saying that like really getting out for the first time in my life all those years ago felt a lot like walking through that department store with my grandma. It was really special. I look back on it fondly, and I am genuinely afraid that we've gone from that
to a dollar store that sells 3% milk.
When I